You ever get a letter that feels like it was meant to ruin your day? Because when I opened that HOA violation notice, it was like someone dropped a cinder block right on my kitchen table. Remove that gate immediately or we'll take legal action. That's what it said right there in black and white. No, please, no warning. Just a threat. Destroy the old wooden gate that's been standing on my family's corner lot for decades. The same one that's never blocked a fire truck, never caused an accident, never bothered a soul. Except, I guess, the folks who can't stand seeing a piece of history holding up progress. You know the type. But here's the thing, they expected me to panic, cut a check cave like every other homeowner who gets one of those certified envelopes with official HOA business stamped across the front. I just looked up, caught Catherine Perez. She's the president watching from her Lexus, holding that fancy leather portfolio like she's some Wall Street fixer, and said, "I'll review your requirements thoroughly." And I smiled, because I already knew I wasn't about to hand over an inch. What I was planning, let's just say they wanted community access. I'd give them access to the truth, all right, just not the way they expected. Drop your craziest HOA power trip stories below, by the way, because mine's about to go off the rails. So picture this. It's a perfect Saturday, sun's just cutting through the pine trees. I'm out there on my deck with a mug of coffee, swapping out rotted boards, when Catherine struts up to my gate like she owns the whole zip code. She's all designer heels and that tight predatory smile you only see on people who rehearse threats in the mirror. You know what I mean? Too polished, too practiced, like this isn't her first rodeo shaking down someone over a code nobody asked for. But I'll tell you a secret, folks who've worked 12 years in emergency response, they don't panic easy, and they sure as hell don't take authority at face value. When someone shows up waving paperwork, you check IDs, you ask for the section code, you make them say what they mean. So when Catherine says, "Your gate violates emergency access standards and must be removed," she expects me to fold. Instead, I start flipping her documents like I'm the inspector. No code numbers, no county signatures, just a bunch of legal-sounding fluff about liability and compliance. Smelled like a scam the minute she opened her mouth. I ask, "Where's the easement doc showing anyone's got a right through my yard? Which NFPA code says you have to rip out a residential gate instead of adding a Knox box?" She hesitates, and right then I know she's recalculating. She's not talking to a pushover. Suddenly she's rattling off stuff about evolving community standards and insurance risk mitigation, which, let's be honest, is development lingo, not the kind of talk you hear at the 4th of July block party. While she's out here snapping photos, measuring my gate like she's prepping a site for subdivision, all I can think is, this isn't about safety. It's about profit. And here's where it gets wild. My granddad built this place in the 70s, back when this whole corner of Pine Lake was just woods and a gravel road. Place was worth 60 grand on a good day. Now a developer could split this lot in 3, sell each for nearly $500,000 and walk away rich. Catherine knows exactly what she's doing. She's not enforcing rules. She's circling a payday. Later that afternoon, I get this itch. Call it fireman's paranoia, but when someone shows up with more prep than authority, you start your own investigation. I set up a couple motion sensors, nothing fancy, just enough to let me know if someone's poking around after dark. And guess what, 2 a.m. the sensors go off. I catch a guy, not Catherine, but someone just as slick out there in the dark with a laser measure documenting my gate's exact size property lines, sight lines way more detailed than you'd need for an emergency access issue. This is developer-level reconnaissance, not some nosy neighbor. Next morning, my phone rings. Sarah Chen. Now there's a real neighbor call's voice, all tight with worry. Catherine says, "Your gate could block an ambulance. You know my heart condition." Now Sarah is the kind who brings soup when you're sick, volunteers at the food pantry, salt of the earth. But hearing her talk about liability exclusion and compliance protocols, that's not Sarah. That's someone feeding her the script, using her real fears as a shield. That's when I realize Catherine's using authentic folks like Sarah to make her pressure campaign look real. So I start driving the neighborhood. Suddenly there's 2 new faces, Tom Wilson and Dave Foster. Both retirees from California, both moving in within 60 days, both joining Catherine's so-called Emergency Access Committee. Even though they've got zero ties to the area, no jobs, no kids in the schools, nothing. They start raising the same concerns about my gate using the same exact phrases. It's like they've all been handed the same playbook. I dig deeper. Both these guys bought their homes cash, way below market value. I mean 35% below. Anyone who's flipped houses knows what that means: distress sales, quick grabs, or in this case, prepping the neighborhood for a full-on acquisition sweep. Sunday night, my sensors catch Wilson walking my property, measuring and photographing in the dark, not even trying to hide it. And he's not looking at fire lanes, he's marking boundaries, angles, places to split lots for resale. Monday morning, I spot Catherine meeting with Wilson and Foster behind the mailbox's folders, changing hands them, taking notes while she points at houses like she's mapping out the next phase. My neighbor Sarah, meanwhile, is walking around worried sick, convinced this is all about medical safety, not realizing she's being weaponized to legitimize the whole scheme. That afternoon, I pull up county records. Wilson and Foster listed their employer as some office on Maple Street. Trouble is, that building burned down in a 3-alarm fire last spring. I remember I was there hauling hoses, watching the roof cave in. Nobody's run a business out of there since, so either these guys are ghost employees or their paperwork's as fake as a $3 bill. Here's the big twist: every timeline lines up. Catherine scouts a property, Wilson and Foster swoop in with cash. Sarah starts sharing worries about compliance, and suddenly there's pressure to sell fast before the fines hit or the bank calls. My place, sitting on a corner lot with huge subdivision potential, is the crown jewel. Now, most folks would break at this point. But me, I call up Rebecca Martin, retired property lawyer, tough as nails. She tells me to flip the script, go above and beyond every compliance code document, everything, and set up enough surveillance to catch a mouse sneezing. Get those signs up, record every word she says, and let them dig their own grave. So I do. I hire pros to widen the drive install. Legit fire gates, Knox boxes, backup power, everything. I put in high-def cameras, audio mics, and the lights, electronic logs for every vehicle. To the neighbors, it looks like I'm sinking money because I'm scared. But really, I'm building a courtroom on my front porch. Within days, the evidence starts piling up. Catherine's back, pacing my fence line, talking on her phone about drainage and lot lines, not fire trucks. She's measuring utility tie-ins, not clearance. The cameras catch every second. Then Michael Stevens shows up, claims he's with the county, flashes a badge that looks off to me. He tries to cite violations, but he can't name a single real code. I grill him. Give me the section, give me the year, what's the standard? And he stammers through a stack of printouts he probably pulled from the internet. My cameras catch every slip-up, every contradiction. After he leaves, I call the real county office. No Michael Stevens on payroll. The badge is fake. The authority is a sham, and now the whole campaign is officially criminal. Rebecca's banking friends find payments from Catherine's LLC to Michael regular under-the-table consulting fees. This is organized fraud, plain as day. But the last straw comes when Catherine and Michael are caught on my hidden mics, planning to hit me with environmental violations now that the gate excuse is gone. They're literally rehearsing how to scare me about soil contamination and wetland remediation, all made-up problems to force a quick sale. That's when I decide to flip the neighborhood. Sunday evening, Sarah hosts a backyard meeting. I roll out the projector, show the photos, play the audio, lay out the payment trails, and let the truth hit like a thunderclap. Folks who thought they were just unlucky with the HOA suddenly see the whole webcash deal's ghost employees, weaponized fears, fake badges. Even Wilson cracks admitting he got paid extra if I sold below market. By Tuesday, Catherine tries to call an emergency meeting thinking she can spin it, restore her control. But the room is packed, the air electric. She struts in, starts her slideshow, talks about community safety. I let her run a few minutes, then kill the lights and put up the surveillance footage. Her mailbox meetings, her deals, Michael's fake badge, her voice on tape saying if they don't fold on the gate, hit them with wetlands. By the time the lights come up, compliance means evidence, not intimidation. Sheriff's deputies walk in right as Catherine's face goes white and the cuffs snap shut. Federal charges, fraud, impersonation, conspiracy. Wilson and Foster, too, for helping fake up the pressure. Michael for pretending to be a county official. Sarah, she turns into a community hero, teaching folks to verify every inspector, never let fear push you out of your own home. 3 months later, we're out by my new gate, still standing, by the way, celebrating Pine Lake Heritage Day. My property's now part of a district with special protections, mandatory verification, and a permanent FAQ on the gate about how to check credentials. Prices are up, nobody's running scared, and even Sarah's baking again. You tell me, when someone waves fake authority in your face, do you back down, or do you build something so solid it outlives every threat? Drop your story below. What would you have done with Catherine and her gang? Ever seen a scam like this in your own neighborhood? Because sometimes the best defense is making their lies impossible and letting the whole world watch them fall. If you made it this far, hit like, share your thoughts, and tell me, do property fraudsters deserve public exposure like this? That's my story. I'll see you at the next bonfire gate, standing strong.